Hello everyone, welcome back to the review lesson number 5. And today we're going to review a couple of standards, which is from genetics, DNA, cell division, mitosis, and Mendel's inheritance. So the first we're going to talk about inheritance patterns. Inheritance means the way in which the alleles or characters or traits transfer from parents to offsprings. And you know that we all show some resemblance to our parents, and we do have some new characters appear in our organism, in our body as well. So inheritance means it's a process in which how are these traits pass on to the next generation. So I have included here 5 different patterns of inheritance. I'm going to start with right here. The first one we call monohybrid inheritance, which is given here as an example as monohybrid cross. Monohybrid cross is a cross involving one single trait. And what happens is in monohybrid cross, if you um, cross two plants, right here we use as an example from a plant, but sometimes some of the traits with the human also works in the same way. And here we have a female plant and here we have a male plant. When you cross both of them and look at the allele pattern, this particular purple flowered colored plant is capital B, small b, and which means they are heterozygous. And here we have a male plant. This is also capital B small b, which is heterozygous. So when you cross these two plants, which is heterozygous to the purple flowers, and you can see that we get 4 possible combinations, and all 3 of them are purple, and one is going to be white. Now, surprisingly, you can see that capital B is purple for sure. Capital B is a dominant trait. And you can see here capital B small b is also ended up in purple. So what happened to the small b here? The small b became recessive. That means one allele, which is capital B, became dominant over the lowercase b allele. Now you can see here the lowercase b is going to show up as white flowers only if two small b come together. So we call this trait is recessive. So what do you understood from it? When you cross two um, organisms with the contrasting traits, and when you look at the individuals, if one trait is dominating over the other, that is called a monohybrid inheritance. Now, here is another example down here, which is called dihybrid cross or dihybrid inheritance. And what do you see here is the same pattern. One trait dominates the other, but the only difference is here we are considering 2 traits at a time. And this is regarding the pea plants of the Grigor Mendel. So here we are considering the seed color, which is yellow and green, and the seed shape, which is round and wrinkled. So when we consider 2 traits at the same time, and we are crossing 2 heterozygous individuals, which produce 4 different type of gametes. And look what's happening here. We end up with the 9 to 3 to 3 to 1 pattern, which is 9 round yellow, 3 round green, 3 wrinkled yellow, and 1 wrinkled green. From this, what we can conclude is the round trait can always go with yellow, and also it can go with green also. So what does that mean? This shows that the alleles are completely independent. So one allele which is responsible for round can either go with yellow or green. So they are not dependent on each other. This proves the Mendel's second law, which is called law of independent assortment. The third inheritance pattern that you see here is incomplete dominance. And what do you see here is when you cross a red flowered plant with a white flowered one, and guess what? You're not getting either red or white, instead you're getting pink flowers. So this shows that these 2 traits are mixing each other, and if you are getting anything like intermediate between the 2 traits, that is incomplete dominance. And the fourth inheritance pattern that you see here is codominance. Co means together. The best example here is the blood type. And you know, the blood type can be either homozygous or heterozygous. Homozygous is capital A, and heterozygous is capital S O, and B is the same, and AB is capital A, capital B, and O is capital O, capital O. Look at the interesting pattern here. When A blood allele, which is capital A, and B blood allele came together in AB, which is called codominant, this ended up as a new trait, which is AB blood type, because both alleles are dominating together, neither one of them dominating like what you see here or here, and neither both of those alleles are mixing. So instead, both alleles are dominating together. So we call this codominance. The last inheritance pattern that you're going to learn is X-linked disorders or sex-linked disorders. So this is linked with the sex chromosome, and you know for the male it is XY, and for the female it is XX, and this is linked with the X chromosome. So here we have some allele which is inherited with the X chromosome, and if since Y chromosome don't have anything, unaffected carrier mother, which means one of the X chromosome, she has you know a chromosome which has a recessive allele linked with that chromosome which is affected. She has a, let's assume that this is hemophilia, and then you have other chromosome which is um, which is normal chromosome. So that's why we call this as a carrier. When these two produce the four possible combination of the children, and you can see that XY, there's a boy here, XY, there's another boy here, and there's a girl here, and there's a girl here. And you can see that one of when these chromosomes mix, and you can see this son is already affected with that hemophilia trait. Hemophilia means it's a bleeding disorder. When we get a cut, the blood is going to bleed and person is going to die. And then you can see here she's going to be a carrier. She has half of the chromosome. One of the chromosome has that bad allele, which is hemophilia, and none of them are unaffected. So this is an example for where the chromosome or the trait is linked with um, the X chromosome, so we call X-linked disorders.